Everything tells the story of a girl born with an immune system disease that makes it so she can't battle outside disease and infection and any of that fun stuff. Therefore, she's been on house arrest essentially for the past 17 years. The only three people she interacts with in person are her mom, her nurse, and her nurse's daughter. And she has some online community with some people in a similar situation, but really she's this lonely person with very little contact with the world. And on her 18th birthday, a boy moves next door that they start to form a little bit of there's some chemistry between the two of them. And this causes her to long for something more than her life locked at her home. Thus, we have our movie. I'm going to do this review a little bit different from most of mine in that I'm going to do a quick spoiler-free review, and I'm going to follow that up with a spoiler-filled review on the back end of this and kind of go into the nitty-gritty, the specifics of the story. I don't normally do that, but this movie, I felt like that's what I wanted to do, and it's my channel, so I can do what I want. With that said, let's go into my spoiler-free review. So as for this movie, I'm not the target demographic. My wife watched the trailer, and she's like, man, I really want to go see that. And so we went for date night to go see this movie, and I go into the theater. I'm not kidding you, it's pretty full, not packed or anything, but pretty full. And there's three guys in this theater, all of us on date night, and then just wall-to-wall girls everywhere, and they were eating up this movie. So for me, I'm reviewing it both as a person trying to, if I have to sit through this, what do I feel about that? As well as just kind of a movie in general, and then trying to interpret how do the people that actually liked it feel about it. And I'll say the people in my audience were kind of eating this movie up quite a bit throughout the movie. And for me, for this type of movie, I mean, it was pleasant enough. What the trailers don't show you is some of the quirky sense of humor that the movie has. So this girl is trapped in her house, and so the movie would be pretty dull if it's just her like texting back and forth for, most of the movie with this boy next door. So part of what they visualize this as is the girl is into kind of construction. One of the courses she's taking is architecture, so she's built models of these places. And so like in the movie, whenever she's texting with the boy, there's like 3-4 times in the movie where it visualizes their texting conversation as actual scene in one of these settings that she's building. And there's like this quirky thing she does with putting an astronaut in it who kind of plays a character in the movie. And it actually works. It's kind of quirky and fun. And you don't see that really at all in the trailers. You just see the melodrama of it. And so the movie has a little bit more fun and humor to it. It's not a comedy, I wouldn't say, but there's a quirky fun to it. And there are legitimately some laughs. Like astronaut guy had my wife in tears. It was a bit awkward because no one else was like, at the astronaut, but she was actually holding back tears because she was laughing so hard at the first scene with our astronaut character. And so the movie has things to it that keeps it interesting for people that aren't naturally drawn towards this type of material. And it moves pretty quickly, doesn't linger too long. I was a little bit worried, like, are we going to be stuck in this house forever? And it finds ways to keep it interesting, move the plot and the scenarios to different place, to different place, to different place pretty quickly. And it plays out a lot like the way you're expecting it to play. Actually, the plot of this movie for 2/3 of it is very, very almost beat for beat similar to a movie earlier this year called The Space Between Us. That's a movie about a boy born on Mars, but actually the beats of the movie and the way the story unfolds, the story template that they choose, it's essentially the same for 2/3 of these movies. And they go in different directions because one of the movies was about people in space, so it couldn't be exactly the same. But so there's a lot that I actually could enjoy in it. But I don't want to go into too much. The way it kind of plays out towards the end kind of took me from going like, all right, yeah, this is a good enough time. I don't mind watching this. This isn't so bad, and the people in the theater are really eating it up. But it doesn't fully play out the way that some of it where it felt like it was going, and so I had to kind of take back my review a little bit. And some of this is also why I want to go into spoilers. If I were to rate this movie, I think I would give it a 6 out of 10. I didn't mind watching it. I wouldn't want to watch it again. And some of that has to do with kind of where it went. And likewise, my wife, who'd be the target audience who really wanted to go see it, certain things with the way the story unfolded kind of spoiled the movie for her, kind of soiled the experience, and she didn't kind of left with a bad taste in her mouth. And so if you really like the trailers, if I'm being honest, go ahead and rent it on Redbox. You'll probably enjoy most of the movie. movie, and you might like it even more than that. It's not horrible, but it's definitely not one that I would recommend you rush out to go see. Now, before I go into my spoiler talk about this one, go ahead and start chiming in the comment section down below. What did you think about it? And you probably know why I wanted to do a spoiler talk on this one if you've seen the movie. With that said, let's go into the spoilers on this one. So the reason I want to do this thing is obviously the third act twist in the movie is that the girl was never sick. Her mom basically had a fear of losing her daughter and so concocted a story to keep her contained at home. And that's kind of where the movie goes in the third act. And the movie is tracking really closely with the space between us, the space YA romancy movie just like this. Until that point, they go off in two very different directions. And that point was where my wife was like, are you kidding me? Like, really, you just ruined all your momentum. All like the romance kind of disappears as soon as you do that. And from a storytelling standpoint, like I'm watching this more evaluative. I can't get just engrossed in like these two teenagers. Like that's my theater was actually kind of like that, where like they were like with the scenes where they're about to kiss, you could feel the room like doing that stuff, and you could hear people breathing weird, which when it was a room full of teenage girls is a bit awkward. But I'm just watching a little bit more, just kind of evaluating it per se. I don't normally do that in movies, but thinking through that standpoint. And when you have a movie that's a teenage romance, and then you get to a point in time and a girl has been held captive in her home for 17 years because her mother became so paranoid and delusional because of the trauma in her life that she was so afraid of losing her daughter that she committed a horrible crime against her. And I don't know if that's a legal crime to do that to your child, but certainly, morally speaking, it's a reprehensible thing to do caused by horrible things that happened to her. That becomes just like a big blanket that just kind of like douses out a fire. It's a wet blanket thrown on top, and whatever language you want to talk about, it just kills all of it, because that story is much more, it's too heavy to put on top of teenage romance story. This is all we're thinking about now is she was kidnapped, and that's not just, oh man, mom shouldn't have done that. Like, no, you stole your child's life, because those are formative years. And if you just stop and think about it, someone that never left their home and was never able to be socialized, it's not like this quirky, cool thing that now you go back to the world and it's okay. Like that actually would break you as a person. You would not be functional. I know this is a movie, we're supposed to have fun with it, and they play with how quirky and awkward she is, that you would not be socially, you don't function socially properly if you'd never been around anyone besides three people that treat you like a broken human being that could die at any point in time. And that, I mean, it just really just doused out all of the romantic elements of it. And it hijacked the movie that you're watching, and it becomes this other thing very quickly. And it was kind of spoiled in the trailers too, because some of the language of the reveal as well as the scene of the reveal are in the trailer. And so I was watching the whole movie just waiting for, all right, when are they going to start debating whether she's really sick? Like, how's that going to play into this? I mean, I know it's going to happen sometime, and then it happened in the movie. Luckily, my wife didn't have well, I don't know, maybe it wasn't lucky, but that wasn't spoiled for her. So anyway, that's to say that the movie, you can't put something that heavy in a story like this. I mean, when you're talking about two teenagers that have spent couple days on a romantic getaway together, and they've met in person for like 30 minutes 2 times, and then the story's about her mom keeping her kidnapped for all you can't do that. It really weighed their own movie down and took a lot of the oomph out of it. So anyway, that's my take on it. What are your thoughts on it? Tell me down in the comment section down below. Did the twisted deal kind of weigh the movie down for you and just kind of trip it, knock it over? I don't know what analogy you would use for it. Tell me your analogy you would use for this third act twist in this particular movie. And the way, for me, I mean, it just really changed the movie in a way that was like, ooh. You're just having some voiceover to address all that? This you can't do that. Tell me your thoughts down below. If you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, trailer reactions, and I got this thing called Masters of Movie Trivia where me and some other YouTubers compete in movie trivia. And we try to decide who the master of the movie trivia is. That's a fun one. We put it up just a new episode just a couple days ago. I'd love it if you would check that out. And as always, thank you for watching.